Hello pandas. It's been an incredible few months for copper, with the red metal reaching the highest price it's ever been. I've been holding on to my best and brightest copper, mostly just for fun more than anything else, but seeing a graph blast off like this has me thinking, is it time to sell my scrap copper? Or hold on and ride it out? If you've been wondering the same thing, or you just enjoy financial advice from a lovable idiot with a history of poor judgment and bad financial decisions, then stick around, Copperhound. This one's for you. Let's clarify a couple things first. Most assets and commodities like physical copper are not static. Their value will fluctuate. But what we're seeing is an unprecedented spike in the price of copper, most likely caused by a global shutdown due to COVID restrictions, limiting the amount of new copper available, followed by a surge in demand as those industries pick back up. The surge in production has cleared out the warehouses, and now copper producers are trying to catch up. Demand outpacing supply has jacked up the price of available copper. The big question is, where does the price go from here? Well, unfortunately for you and I, market analysis is about as less accurate than predicting the weather, and all we can do is speculate. That and read speculation by actual economic publishers. Usually, something that leaps up like this will fall back down, but things are a little weird. We've got production houses making the same amount of money, but with less production. We've got electric cars and solar panel systems finally taking off and being widely adopted. I've been trying to keep up with the news on global supply, but with South American election seasons and Chinese demand going back and forth, it's difficult to make any predictions worth holding on to. Some articles suggest copper could hit $6 or even $8 a pound, but nobody really knows. One thing we can bet on, however, is inflation, the constant weakening of the buying power of our cash. Over the past year, we've printed a ton of money out of thin air to provide financial relief to North American citizens, and that will bite us on the backswing. If that were the only factor at play, it would make copper a safe house compared to cash, but with all of these other factors on top, it seems likely that copper will continue to climb. The shape of the graph definitely looks like it's repeating a pattern, but after a staggering upwards movement, I think it's fair to assume movement over the next little while will be slower. So it went up. It could keep going up. What business do I have talking about this? Well, as exciting as this all is, it gets muddy when applied to a real human's real life situation, which is why I asked you, my viewers, what your suggestions were based on my situation. Many of you offered some well thought out sound advice. Thank you for that. And I figured since it's interesting and immediately relevant to me, it may have value to you. Basically, I have a small amount of copper, roughly 100 pounds. Now that's not a lot of volume, but the percentage gains were pretty exciting to watch. On the other side, I've been carrying a student loan debt for several years now, and while that's been good for my credit rating, I don't like the idea of being financially enslaved and wish to be debt-free as soon as possible. So, holding on to a commodity that suddenly increases in value 75%. Do I cash out and do a happy dance? Or enjoy the ride and see where it stops? Well, if you're living debt-free, then it really is that simple, but holding on to a debt which assumedly accrues interest, also holding on to commodities and hoping that they go up in value faster than that interest is a gamble at best. I've never been good at math, or much better at gambling. Debt can be a good thing if it's invested in something, but this one is a chain around my neck which will prevent me from buying property, so it has to go. Based on wise recommendation from many of you, I'm simply going to cash out and get back into the black ASAP. It's a good time to do it too. Lots of commodities have exploded in price. I've got some video games, Pokemon cards, Magic cards, all of which have sharply risen in value. It seems like things are lining up. I'll enjoy watching the price of copper regardless of what it does and continue to collect it whenever I can. I'm not making any suggestions as to what you should do, but for me, this is the right choice. Suppose you don't need money, though. What should that person do? Well, if you aren't swimming in debt and you've got diamond hands, holding on to copper seems like a promising long-term play more than ever. A typical stock investor would probably cash out 50% or so they could exit in a profitable position and then let the other 50% ride. But let's not equate commodities two stocks. Physical items have different risks. They could be stolen, lost in a fire, or damaged if they're collectibles or something. They also carry costs. If you held on to all of your brass, aluminum, or even steel, well, that takes up space, which is not free even if it appears to be. Finally, their values don't behave the same either. They typically don't crash, but they also typically don't skyrocket either. What we've seen happen with copper and lumber and Pokemon cards is really unusual. And for it to happen a second time in a short period of time would be ludicrous. It's like holding silver or gold. People don't do it because they go up in value. People do it because cash goes down in value. Which is an excellent reason, by the way, but it is not a growth investment. With copper, the price being high makes it a great time to cash out. But if you don't need the money and you have a reasonable place to keep it, then just hang on to it until you could use the cash for an opportunity that does offer growth potential. Just understand your position and why you're doing it. I scrap to pay for my expenses. So when the prices are high, it's cool, but even if they weren't, I would still sell my metal. Stacking the copper was fun though. People who sold off Bitcoin when it hit 20K were making a smart decision at the time, and hindsight doesn't change that. We make our decisions based on what's true today so that we can be in a more favorable position tomorrow. And so for me, I'm taking the cash. Wow, that's good. Just for fun, I did bring in my the coax wire and the Christmas lights. The coax, which had a solid copper core, not the copper-coated steel core. $13 for 52 pounds of that. Then Lumex, we had 32 pounds. Insulated number 1, 16 pounds. BX cable, 22 pounds. Now, some of you might wonder why I didn't strip all of those down. What I did was I challenged myself. I gave myself a certain amount of time to do all of my wire stripping and then bring everything in after that. So I focused on doing the most valuable stuff, and I had a lot of little short pieces of Lumex, or all of the paper Lumex, or the really long pieces of BX cable. Just the stuff that was going to be really difficult. And then the smallest pieces of number 1. Yes, I could have spent time, and I already covered that in a video. It's absolutely worth it. But you also need to be... That's not what this video is about. That's what made sense for me. Slightly more than I thought for the number 1 bare, bright, clean, shiny copper. 120 pounds at $4.55 a pound. 546, bringing the grand total of today's to $685. Yeah. That's a big help. That'll help a lot. Now, absolutely, feel free to tell me off if you sell yours off right now, like me, and then the price goes up, or if you hold on to it and then the price goes down. Either way, I would love to have the discussion. I'd love to know more about what you guys think of what the correct choice is, or what to expect for the future of copper based on what we've been seeing these past couple of months. Because, wow, it's been fun. It's been fun having you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for leaving it better than you found it. Keep doing the thing.